I watched my neighbor's house while he was deployed. When he returned, he reported me for identity theft and had me evicted. "Enjoy the floor you slept on," he said, tossing my bag. But I had one thing he forgot: the signed contract, the email chain, and the letter his CO wrote before he left. I live in Biloxi, Mississippi. Humid air, peeling paint, half the neighborhood still whispers about Katrina. It's ordinary, until you notice the F-16s roaring overhead from Keesler Air Force Base. I've lived in the same one-bedroom apartment for 6 years. It's quiet, predictable. No drama, no surprises. Just a stable routine after my brother died overseas. Then Reed showed up. Guy in his late 20s, clean-cut, always in uniform or gym clothes. He moved in next door, one of those military types who keeps to himself but smiles polite when you meet in the hallway. I gave him a wave. He smiled back. A few months after moving in, he got orders, deployed for 7 months. He knocked on my door late afternoon, uniform crisp, bag slung over his shoulder. "Hey, Tommy," he said. "I live off my last name. I'm heading out soon. Think you could watch the place? Check the mail, water the plant, maybe grab an egg if you're in my fridge? I'll send you the CO's letter if you need manager clearance." He followed that up with an email chain: scope of responsibilities, allowed perks. His washer-dryer, his upgraded internet, and permission to crash on his couch if my AC quit again like last summer. His commanding officer even sent a letter with base letterhead and rank stamp, verifying deployment and endorsing me as caretaker. I sent back a signed copy of the agreement. I wasn't doing it for perks. My brother had died 5 years earlier, a Marine, killed in Kabul. I pledged to always watch out for any serviceman I could. And Reed seemed decent enough. A few things I kept track of: emails with timestamps. CO's letter, with signature and official seal. A signed agreement from Reed. Receipts for the few things I paid for: a new washer hose, light bulb, grocery run, nothing over $50 total. I checked mail, watered orchid, grabbed his Amazon drop-offs. I replaced a busted toilet hose after it leaked during heavy rains. I used the Wi-Fi twice. I crashed on the couch for one night when a storm killed my power. He paid me the $100 I asked, no fuss. Then came return day. I didn't see him the day he landed, but 2 days later the building manager slid an eviction notice under my door: lease violation and identity misuse. Cops arrived within an hour. I stepped outside, hands raised. There he was, Reed, on the stairs, arms folded, expression tight. He nodded at the cops. "Yep, that's him." I said, You're making a mistake. We had an agreement." I showed my phone. Contract, emails, CO's letter, receipts. He just smirked. "None of that matters," he said. Voice flat. "You were living here. Using my place. My stuff." He paced slowly. "I reported you for identity theft. They packed my things, backpack, clothes, tools, a couple of my books, right there on the landing." He stood and pointed. "Enjoy the floor you sleep on tonight, buddy." And he tossed the backpack down. That night, I slept on the hard cement outside my car. But I'd kept everything. Every email, every bit of proof. Signed, dated. Authenticated CO letter. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted my life back. But he'd locked the door. So I started building my case. The next morning, I went to the public library. Charged my phone. Printed every document I had. The agreement. The emails. The PDF letter from Reed's commanding officer. I organized everything into a binder. I hadn't shaved in 2 days. My eyes were bloodshot. My neck ached from sleeping crammed in the front seat. But I was focused. I wasn't going to let this guy rewrite the story. The building manager wouldn't see me. "We're handling this with legal counsel," his assistant said. "You were reported for impersonation. That's a federal thing." That word, impersonation, stuck in my stomach. I'd watched that man's house like it was my own. Cleaned it. Protected it. Slept there once, because he told me to. And now he was saying I broke in. That I pretended to be him. I had never used his name, never logged into anything. Hell, I barely opened his fridge. I started calling everyone. First, I emailed his commanding officer directly. I didn't expect a reply. But 2 days later, I got one. I confirm Mr. Reed authorized you as a temporary caretaker during his deployment. I am willing to speak to building management if needed. I printed that too. Then I called Legal Aid Mississippi. A tired-sounding man named Gary picked up. I explained the situation. Told him I had documents. Emails. Proof. He paused. You're saying he gave you permission, but now he's claiming you impersonated him? Exactly. You have written proof of permission? I have everything. I want to see it, he said. Come in tomorrow. That night, I slept in my car again, this time in the parking lot outside the law office. The part that really burned? It wasn't just that Reed lied. It was how cold he'd been. No explanation. No phone call. No, hey man, this isn't working. Just a report to the office and the cops. When I finally saw him again, I was sitting outside the complex. I wasn't allowed in, but I wanted to see him face to face. He walked by, earbuds in, drinking something from a metal cup. I stood. Reed. He looked up, startled. You know I didn't do anything wrong, I said. His face didn't move. He took out one earbud. You were in my place. You don't live there. You told me to. He shrugged. You don't have anything in writing. I held up the folder in my hand. Yeah. I do. For the first time, his expression shifted, barely. He gave a fake smile. Well, he said, guess we'll see who they believe. And he walked away. Legal aid got involved. They drafted a formal response to the apartment management. The lawyer asked for a sit-down with Reed present. The manager agreed. 3 days later, I sat at a folding table in the leasing office. Reed showed up 15 minutes late, sunglasses on, acting bored. He flipped through the papers like they meant nothing. But then the CO's letter came out. With a seal. A signature. Dates. Contact information. Then the contract, signed by both of us. Then the email chain, him writing, thanks man, really appreciate it, and feel free to crash on the couch if your AC dies again. Reed's jaw twitched. My lawyer leaned forward. So unless you'd like to explain why you reported identity theft after granting permission in writing. We'll be proceeding with civil charges for wrongful eviction, defamation, and intentional emotional distress. But that wasn't the twist yet. Because after Reed left that day, red-faced and quiet, I got a call from someone I didn't expect, another tenant in the building. A woman I barely knew, Shelley. She said, hey, did you really get kicked out because of Reed? Yeah. I'm sorry. He's been bragging about it to people. Saying he got a freeloader evicted. I stayed quiet. Just thought you should know, she added. That night, I made a choice. I wasn't just going to clear my name. I was going to ruin the lie he built. I didn't go scorched earth right away. I started slow. Reed was cocky, too cocky. He thought this would go away. He didn't know what I still had. Or who I was talking to. I went back to legal aid and asked Gary if I could push further. Not just to get my name cleared, but to fight back. He nodded slowly. If we get a judge to look at this, we can file a counterclaim. If he signed off on you staying there and then falsely reported you, yeah, we've got something. So we filed. Civil claim, wrongful eviction, defamation, and emotional damages. Reed was served the next week. He went quiet after that. I didn't see him on the stairs. No more smug looks. But Shelley texted me again, said he was telling people I doctored the documents. That I was obsessed with him. He was painting me like some creepy guy who wouldn't let go. That's when I realized, this wasn't just about getting me evicted. He was trying to destroy my reputation. So I got strategic. I called the base housing liaison. Explained everything. Asked if they had records on Reed's housing situation, if he'd claimed I was a squatter, or filed any report through base legal. They called me back the next day. We have no record of a complaint on file through military channels. If what you're saying is true, it might violate the terms of his conduct. Send what you have. I sent everything. Meanwhile, the apartment complex got spooked. They offered to reverse the eviction if I signed a liability waiver and agreed not to pursue damages. I said no. A week later, I got a voicemail from Reed. I hadn't heard his voice since the day he laughed and tossed me my backpack. Now, his voice was calm. Too calm. Hey, so, I think this got a little out of hand. Maybe we can just drop the lawsuit. I'm willing to write a statement saying it was all a misunderstanding. Just, call me, okay? I didn't call him back. I sent the voicemail to my lawyer. Then came the base investigation. They asked to meet. I walked into the small admin building near the gate. 2 officers and a civilian rep sat at a table. They'd reviewed my documents. They had the CO's letter, the emails, everything. One officer, mid-40s, stern voice, asked, "Can you explain why someone would agree to let you house sit, then claim you impersonated them?" I said, because he thought I was easy to erase. There was silence for a while. They nodded. Took notes. Said I could go. I wasn't sure what would come of it. But a few days later, I heard from another tenant, Reed was being moved out of the building. Not evicted, but reassigned. Quietly. Quickly. No one said it out loud, but it was clear, the base wanted him gone before things escalated. But I wasn't finished yet. You don't get to falsely accuse someone, leave them homeless, humiliate them, and just quietly walk away. So I made one last call. To my brother's old friend, he worked local media now. Small-time stuff, but enough. I told him everything. I'm not looking for revenge, I said. I just don't want anyone else to go through what I did. He asked for documents. Proof. I gave it to him. The story ran the next week. Small piece, bottom half of the metro section. Headline read, Local veteran accuses neighbor of identity theft, gets sued after evidence reveals permission granted. It didn't name him directly, but anyone in the building or on base would know. The fallout started almost immediately. Shelley texted me, he's pissed. Said he's getting harassed at work. Another neighbor I barely knew messaged me on Facebook, didn't know the truth until I read that article. I'm sorry I didn't say anything before. Even the building manager emailed me. Suddenly polite, offering a new unit, discounted rent, no hard feelings. I said no. That wasn't the point anymore. Then I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, a handwritten note. You're really gonna ruin a man's life over a couch and a power bill? That was it. No name. No signature. But I recognized the handwriting. Reed's. I'd seen it on the contract. I showed it to my lawyer. He nodded. Good. This is intimidation. Let's add it. We updated the civil suit. I still hadn't spoken to Reed. Not directly. But through friends, neighbors, base contacts, I heard plenty. He was under performance review. Quiet disciplinary proceedings, not public. But they were serious. Apparently, this wasn't his first time bending the truth. One of his old roommates, a guy named Marcus, reached out to me on Facebook. Said he saw the article and felt compelled to speak up. He pulled something similar on me, Marcus wrote. Got me kicked out of base housing for unauthorized use of his room. But I was his roommate. I was on the lease. Nobody believed me back then. I asked if he'd be willing to submit a statement. He said yes. We added that too. Reed's lawyer tried to negotiate. Offered to settle. Asked if we'd consider dropping the defamation part if Reed wrote a formal apology and paid damages. My lawyer asked for $25,000 and a signed statement admitting he fabricated the impersonation claim. They balked. So we kept going. The base reached out again, this time from someone higher up. They thanked me. Said they were taking it seriously and had opened a formal internal review into Reed's behavior. The phrase they used, pattern of misconduct. I didn't smile. I didn't feel triumphant. I just sat on the library bench, reading the email twice. 3 times. I didn't want to destroy his life. But I wanted him to know, the quiet guy next door, the one he thought he could toss out like trash. Kept everything. 2 weeks before the court date, I saw him again. It was outside the complex mailbox. I was back temporarily, with legal clearance, gathering more records from the office. He didn't know I'd be there. He froze when he saw me. I didn't move. Just looked at him. He walked over, slowly. No smug look this time. Just tension. I didn't think it would go this far, he said. I didn't answer. You're really gonna drag me through court? Over, what? A misunderstanding? I stared at him. A misunderstanding is when someone forgets to say thank you. You made up a police report. You tried to wreck my name. His jaw clenched. I lost access to my unit. Slept in my car. You know what you did. He said nothing. Then, you won't win. No jury cares about a glorified babysitter. And right there, that line? That told me everything I needed. He hadn't learned a thing. A few days later, I was at a pretrial conference when his attorney pulled my lawyer aside. They wanted to settle again. This time, it was different. Not just an apology or hush money. They were offering a joint statement, full exoneration, plus reimbursement of legal fees and damages. Still no admission of guilt. Just to avoid further complications. I said no. My lawyer was surprised. Even with this on the table? I nodded. He's still lying. And he's still talking. Because meanwhile, I'd gotten a screenshot. Shelley again. This time from a group chat with some other people in the building. Reed had sent a message, the guy's insane. Stalking me. Fabricating documents. Legal aid is a joke, they'll represent anyone. That did it. I forwarded the chat to base command. Sent it to my lawyer. We added it to the claim. What Reed didn't realize was that his own arrogance was giving me more evidence by the day. Then came the last piece. An email. Not from Reed. From someone at the base. Confidentially. Attached was a scanned document. A form Reed had filled out before deployment. Listing me by name as his authorized occupant for minor maintenance and household access. Signed and dated. It wasn't just informal permission. It was official. And he'd forgotten. Or hoped I wouldn't find it. My lawyer looked at it and said, "That's it. That's the nail." We updated the case again. Reed was now facing false police report, defamation, retaliatory eviction, harassment. He'd gone from smug veteran with neighbors praising him, to a man buried under his own lies. The day before our court date, Reed didn't show up to his own deposition. His lawyer called mine, said he was emotionally unfit to participate at this time. Claimed he was dealing with stress-related illness due to the ongoing case and public scrutiny. I didn't buy it. He'd played every angle, run his mouth in the group chat, sent that anonymous note. And now, right when the facts were stacked against him, he was folding. But the court didn't care about his excuses. The judge issued a continuance, but the damage was done. The base began formal disciplinary action. His apartment was officially reassigned, he was being moved to temporary quarters, with a notice that he wouldn't be renewing his lease under mutual agreement. That's how they phrased it, to save face. But everyone knew. Neighbors started talking differently. A few even came up to me to apologize. One woman, I don't even know her name, offered me a folding chair, quietly set it beside me at the bus stop. Small things. Quiet things. But they hit hard. then, out of nowhere, I got a letter. No name on the outside, just folded paper inside. I guess you won. Happy now? Everyone hates me. The base is cutting my time short. My CO won't look me in the eye. You could have just let it go. But no, had to make a scene. Hope it was worth it. You're still just the guy who needed a place to crash. No apology. Not one word admitting what he'd done. Just bitterness. I folded the letter up, slid it into the same folder with all the rest. I kept it, just like I kept everything. I didn't reply. I never did get my old place back. Even after everything, I couldn't sleep right in that building again. Too many nights pacing the floor, waiting for the next hit. But I drive past it sometimes. And every time I see that stairwell, I think about the way he stood there, smirking, tossing me my bag like I was trash. People think revenge means fire and yelling and winning in court. But sometimes it just means making sure someone remembers they didn't get away with it. And knowing, deep down, they never will.